Phil Guinois, Jack Deshane, Micah Watkins with the ENO Business Success Podcast. And today, a little bit later, we're going to bring on our guest, Korey Bahme with Bahme Law. And today, guys, let's talk about evolution. Another word for that is expansion. So we just had a course this weekend. And, you guys were both there. I was in and out a little bit, but let's just start on expansion.
Okay.
Well, okay, so a lot of the times people hear evolution and then they immediately, what's the first thing that they think of?
Darwin,
right? They're like, oh, Darwinism, blah, blah, blah. And it's one of those, it's those mind traps, right? By the way, I was listening to the mind traps and checking all that stuff out, really cool stuff. But, perfect example, if you're not open to hearing new concepts and checking new information out, how are you ever going to expand? How are you going to grow? How are you going to evolve? So, like we were having the conversation this weekend, you were, hey, check out these mind traps, and then here's the YouTube video, this, that, and we're having this conversation, and I was like, all right, well, how many people are would be like, oh yeah, I got to go check that out? Are they even willing to?
Right, yeah.
So, so a lot of the courses that we do, it's all about growth. It's all about personal growth and the expansion. And what happens when you allow yourself to grow, it's just that, you're growing.
You're moving. Well, yeah, and we're ENO, and everything will be under ENO, yet before that it's called Next Evolution. It's called The Next Evolution. Expansion, I think, in the human experience, and we just did a breakthrough course. So I brought this up in the course. For myself personally, no matter what, and I do all this work and facilitate all of it, it doesn't matter. It's still, like right now, just getting to this place where I'm going, I'm going to have to do something, because I'm sitting there facilitating these, and these people are leaving with this was mind-blowing, this was amazing, I can do whatever, all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I remember that feeling, because I did it before, for the first time. This has been 18 years. And there's something within me going, it's starting to get to be like, yeah, this is just getting mundane. Like, I've already done these for 18 years. So it's starting to get mundane. The life is starting to sort of like, I don't know. I'm going to have to do something here to create some. And then it started to become obvious. It was expansion. It was, you need to reach the next levels. What are they for you? Like, do you see them? Because you've been doing this for 18 years. What is the next thing? And it's all coming into play now. Like, what is the next level? Because to just do this, even though the weekends are powerful, and I always enjoy them once I'm in there, yet I don't feel the same way I did when I was younger. Like, oh, it's a level 1 or 2. Yes, I cannot wait to get there. Now it's more like, I got to go to work. I'm going to stand there. I'm going to tell the same stories over and over and over, and then I'm going to go home, and then I'm going to do that. And, the music's always exciting. That part, for some reason, never becomes mundane. I just recorded a new song. It's always exciting. But these have become mundane. And maybe that's because they're new songs. So actually, the parts in there that I still feel some excitement is when I actually step outside of what I've been doing for 18 years. Yet then it gets tricky, because I'm going into some places that some people aren't able to understand, or could be like, you're stepping on my toes here or something. I like those. And some of that happened this weekend. So it was more like, okay, so what about you? Do you need to change to reach a new level, a new plateau of things, so that it's exciting again, so that you feel like you're alive again? And then that's when things like the movie come in, and what will happen from the movie, and what you're going to be doing after that, and filming the level 1 at the end of the month, so that their training videos are set up so other people can do what you're doing, so that you can fly in a different place now. Other than that, I was like, it's either way. Like, if I'm here tomorrow, fine, I'll go keep doing that. Other than that, I'm okay not being here tomorrow. It gets to that place. Like, this is just getting like the same old thing over and over again.
And I think it's, we've got a 60-day game coming up. So one of the things, and all three of us are heavily involved in that 60-day game, I think that, one of the things you're talking about, Jack, is, we in every course that we do, we have to put something almost at stake, right? And to go to a new level. So like we're going to be doing the 60-day game, and, as a coach in that game, we should have a goal as well, right? So we got something that we're not just coaching someone. We actually have got something that we're working on as well. And that keeps that new and exciting for us.
I do that every challenge all the way for the whole 18 years. I think that's important because you've got a room full of people there, and they're going to be moving, and they're going to be expanding, and they're going to be reaching for things and growing, and to have that opportunity in front of you and choose to just stay stagnant and the same, I just don't. So like it's coming up next week. I've already thought about it. So there's some people that will be in the challenge that are part of filming the movie. So part of it's going to be that for me, working with them, and what can we get done in the next 2 months goal-wise? What can we lay out to have accomplished by the end of that? So I'll be in a part of that. And then there's the physical goal. So I've already started. That's already started because I want something by the time that's over. So, yeah, I think that's important. I think all the coaches.
Yeah.
Now, not that it's the same as the participating in it. I mean, it's not at the same level. Right. Like if they don't want to do it, then they don't do it or whatever. Where, if it's a player and they're not getting where they're going, well, that's why we're there. To figure out why you're stopping yourself, why you're fleeing, why you're letting the lid stop you from going any further. But, yeah, definitely. I think all coaches, facilitators, it doesn't matter how long you've been around, this is an opportunity for growth.
Well, it's just that when you play around in this environment, you kind of have that awareness of, can I, right? And constant, never-ending improvement. You're just pushing yourself. And when you're coaching the 60-day game, that's where you're like, all right, cool. What can I absorb into my sphere, right? To then push myself to expand. So I know a lot of the times when I've done seminars in the past and workshops before, and some of the other stuff that I do, I always pose the question to people. It was like, if you want to change something in your life, you have to change something in your life. I know that sounds incredibly generic.
Simplistic.
However, it's stupid simplistic, yet it has to be. Because look, if you do want to change something in your life, you have to alter something. Or you have to draw it in towards you so that you can then expand outward, by bringing it into your sphere, into your realm of existence. It wasn't there before, you brought it in, and now that by bringing that in, now you're able to accomplish more, do things differently, or have a different mindset, or whatever it is. And I think, where we're at with, I know for myself, the last couple of games that I've coached, there's those little goals that we've set for ourselves. It pushes me, and it's like, all right, it keeps me grounded. And I don't have near the experience that both Jack and Phil does here in the personal development space. Yet, I can look at both of you and see that, all right, they're always doing something. They're always doing something to push themselves. And I've made mention, like, Phil, like where you're at with your cycling, and you've only been doing it a short amount of time. It's not like you've been cycling for 15, 20 years. It hasn't been that long, yet the things that you've accomplished while doing it. And I watch you and how you're okay, I reached this point, and then now I need to do this to expand. And then you're always working on something to take it to the next level. And same thing with Jack. I mean, yeah, and it totally gets mundane. When we do the same thing over and over, get up, go to work, come home, drink a beer, watch TV, get up, go to work, come home, drink a beer, watch TV. How many people are stuck in that?
Drink a beer, go to work.
Yeah. How many people are stuck in that?
Yeah. Lots of people are stuck in that.
Well, Mike, you talk about my cycling. So, last year leading into the Tour de Tucson race, which was my 5th race, I wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling it. And I kept questioning a couple of things. Like, is it that I've been training for the last 3+ years with my trainer that just my mind is different, right? Like it's not as consuming the training piece for me like it used to be, or is it that I'm, burned out a little bit or just not enjoying it that much? And I kept looking at that going into that race, like, which is this? Is it that I've got the endurance and I've got the strength and I've done the training and it just feels different? Like, yeah, I'm not having to push as hard, right? Mundane.
Yeah.
Or is it, I'm just not into it right now?
Could be that.
And it actually turned into that I just wasn't into it, right? So I did the race and, I still did well. Finished what they call platinum, which is in the top 7 percentile. So that means, and literally at that race, I was thinking, I'm not going to race as hard the next year because I just don't want to right now. And then I get platinum and I'm like, crap, now I have to, right? But it turned out that I was on that, that piece where I was just complacent and a little burned out. And I literally have taken the last 6 months and just really haven't done a lot. I mean, I've ridden every week, but it just hasn't been the same intensity or distances or any of that until about 2 weeks ago. And I rode 240 miles in, a 6-day period, which is literally triple what I've ridden any week since I did the race back in November. So it's kind of back now, right? And I'm getting ready to start my training for Tucson in November. So, yeah.
Oh, I mean, we all have those moments in our lives where, we're going to hit plateaus. Mm-hmm. How many of us recognize it? Oh, I've hit the plateau. I need to change. Same thing for me. I'm diligently hitting the gym the last several months. Beginning of the year, we had a game going on. I had some personal goals that I wanted to hit. So start working with a trainer, get back into it. I got lazy and complacent, right? So, started doing all that. And then, the game finished. And then, I'm still staying with it. And then over literally the last 2.5, 3 weeks, I was just like, man, I was waking up and I was like, do I want to go to the gym? I was like, eh. And, it's like you just hit that plateau and you just, eh. And then I had the epiphany this weekend. I was like, all right, enough. I got to, I laid back and been coasting, for a couple of weeks. It's time to, all right, we need to push again. It's time to push and start growing. And all right, I need to, you got to set something up for yourself to, go, I want to get this. Because if we don't, we're just the hamster in the wheel, right? And just chasing that little, whatever they're chasing. I don't know, We would think that it's the carrot in front of them.
I don't think there's anything they're chasing.
Actually, it's probably their tail. They just catch a glimpse of it as it goes around. Jack and Micah, let's look at talking about evolution. So a couple things came to mind. So we've evolved from the Phoenix Metro Chamber, which you purchased and brought me in very quickly after that, back in 2019, 2020. and where we're at today. So that was a whole evolution in itself, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what that looked like. And, so let's talk a little bit about what that evolution looks like and the evolution that it's had for the people, our members, because that's where it's really showing up. I mean, you sent me a text today of, 2, quote, comments, testimonials from people that were in the breakthrough this weekend. So let's talk a little bit about, what that's been like for us to evolve.
The evolution, I think it just came out of paying attention to what was going on around at that time. I mean, you have the Phoenix Metro Chamber, and as I've made clear, networking, not interested, not my thing. Yet, it was cool. You go in, you do your stuff, and then COVID hit, and we were playing around and all that. So the thing about it was I didn't purchase the chamber to network or to be a networky person. I purchased it as a way to get people introduced to the work, to the, achieving business life success and all that, which, that name came out of a chamber-ish situation. I mean, I've had it called Centauri before, all kinds of different names. That came from the chamber, and giving the free seat to the members was fine, yet it wasn't a requirement or anything. They could have the free seat, and not a lot of people will take advantage of that type of stuff. It was sort of surprising because the seat itself, like over at some other organizations that do sort of what we do, that seat can be $800 for the weekend. And they're buying this membership for $495 to be in the chamber, and the seat sitting there, which is valued around $800 if you go to do it somewhere, and they weren't using it. So there was that part where I'm like, okay, some people are using it, not many are doing that. And then COVID happens, and then you see not just our chamber, but all chambers. Lots of that type of networking style, they just tanked. I mean, they were tanking all over the place because there was no way to hold your lunches and your mixers, and that's basically what a chamber's doing. So, you go to Zoom with that, it's not that effective because it was networking. It was a mixer. It was a lunch. Now you're sitting on Zoom. You're not even around anybody. And then I noticed, though, there were networking groups in organizations that weren't lunchy and weren't mixery, and their members stayed on the Zoom because it still basically is what they were doing. They were sitting at a table. Now they're not. Now they're just sitting at their desk on a screen, and they didn't seem to take much of a hit. Like, their members stayed, and they didn't want to lose their spot in the group. So where you look at all these chambers, what kind of hit did we get? We lost 80% of the members. And so did all the other chambers and all of those networking style companies like that do mixers and that kind of stuff. But the organizations that were a networking group where they met and there was so many of them and they were exclusive and you had a seat and all of, they took what kind of a hit?
Maybe 20-25%
right.
max.
So it was drastically different. And I recognized it. Like, okay, wait a second. So I don't know the next fun they'll have for humanity. Like, COVID was fun, but what's their next thing they're going to do? Yet, let's see if we can position ourselves a little differently. So if this does happen again, and then also, well, now if we do that and we create groups, we could have achieving business and life success as a prerequisite of being a member of the group. And it worked. Because how many have been through now? Most of them have been through. And a large portion have moved forward and are still moving forward. So you look at that evolution, and it came out of paying attention, understanding trends and what was going on, and what was your original goal anyway. It was to introduce people to this work to empower humanity. That's what the whole goal was anyway. So then now the model fits the vision.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing is, we've had conversations on this, Jack, in the beginning days under the chamber, there was the seat in Next Evolution, Jack's thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was your membership in the chamber, and then you had this seat that you could go do, quote, Jack's course.
Right.
And as we last year started pulling all of this together and bringing it in under one umbrella as ENO, it became very evident that people were lined up. They were in alignment more because it was a part of ENO.
Right.
Versus, well, it's that other thing that Jack's doing.
Exactly. That's why when we started ENO, we made the decision, because it was chamber, Melaleuca, chamber, living benefits, chamber, Jack's thing, Next Evolution. And when it was coming from that place, even someone like Craig Darling said, yeah, you would get up and do your commercial about Next Evolution. I'm like, and he'd say, this guy's full of shit. There we go. I interjected a cuss word finally. But that's what he said in his mind. He's like, this guy's full of shit, because it's Jack's thing. He's just promoting his thing. So that was another conscious choice we made. No, let's pull our things out of here, and let's just, all of it's falling under ENO. And that made a difference.
Yeah.
Because now they're just going, oh, well, I'm joining ENO, and this is part of it, and I'm going to have to do that if I'm going to be part of that. And so that's exciting. That's actually super exciting.
Well, and if you look back at and compare the energy, whether it's one of our regular empowerment networking lunches, or it's a lunch and learn, or it's one of our masterminds, or it's a mixer, the energy level in those events today, comparatively back to the chamber days, are like night and day.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Completely different.
Well, and this was something that was going to happen, and I would know that from an example, 16 years ago, of going into that veterinarian hospital where they hired me to just do that group of people privately. And the owner was getting ready to fire all of them, and this is like 22 people, and he's going to fire everybody. And he's hoping this weekend will work. And, we went through the weekend, and obviously by the end, there was a full transformation of that group of people. However, he wouldn't give me a testimonial. And I said, well, I want to do other corporates. I could use a testimonial. He said, come and see me in 6 months, because I want to make sure this isn't, like they're like this and they're just going to go right back to what they were doing. So I waited 6 months, and I went to have lunch with him, and he said, I'll give you the testimonial. I said, so it's good. And he goes, well, they're not perfect people, but all that crap stopped. The division, the gossiping, the poor work performance, the bad attitudes, all that has stayed eliminated. Now, you think about it, and I'm like, well, there was a huge advantage for those people, because usually you get a group of people into a level one, and they don't even know each other, and then they disperse. So then they go home, and the spouse doesn't know, and the kids don't know, and they don't do anything else. Eventually, that little high goes away, and they just go right back to who they were and what they were doing. Yet this group of people went through together, and they kept seeing each other 5 days a week. So, and they kept all the little sheets we write, the big sheets were all up on their wall, because we did it in their training room. So they had the reminders going all the time, and they created an environment themselves. And that's what's happening in the mastermind groups that you're not going to find anywhere else, because the experiences those people just went through last weekend, and now they're going to see each other in these groups. So then it keeps it going.
Yeah.
So they see each other every week. And there was one of them who told me it's frustrating in the group, and I think you were just bringing that up. It's frustrating because we get the new people, and they haven't went through yet, and maybe they're not going through for a month or whatever, and I want to say something that's prevalent to what we learned in there, because we could use it right now, but you just sort of got to keep it quiet. Like, you don't want to talk about certain things because they don't know yet.
And you don't want to rob them of their experience.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, that was the classic, whoever it was, the husband or the wife, that would do level, the the Achieving Business and Life Success, and then sit there and be like, okay, I got him to sign up for the next one, or I got her to sign up for the next one. And I'm like, so how's it going? I'm just biting my lip, man. Just keeping it cool, because they don't want to say anything and point out what they're doing. Like, they've learned what the cycle of destruction is. They've learned these things, and they're seeing these people in there. Yet I got to keep quiet. I got to just be patient, wait till they get in here, and then we can talk. And then we can have a dialogue. Then we could use this as a communication tool for our relationship. Yet if only one knows, it doesn't work. That's why you're not able. I love parents when they're like, well, we're good. We're good. We just, the 15-year-old here, he needs to go. We're good. Well, in the beginning, you know, these bigger companies be like, yeah, we just want the money. Pay the $800 for the 15-year-old. Well, they found a problem. The 15-year-old goes home. Now he's sitting at home, and the parents are doing stuff, and the kid's like, you guys are victims. You know, and they're like, what? Don't call us victims. They're like, well, you're being a victim right now. And then they're like, yo, this is a cult. They turned you against us. You know, this isn't win-win what you guys are playing right now. And so yeah, for the parents, even when they come to me that way, I'm like, no, you got to come in. You got to do this. Otherwise, you're not going to like what happens when this one goes home, especially like someone with someone like little Lauren there. You get a little Lauren going home.
Yeah.
Her mom already told me what she already done. I'm like, oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, she called me in the room. I'm like, yeah, like, do it. I was talking about some other groups or whatever, just letting them know this is what they do. And she was like, are you gossiping right now? And I'm like, yes, I am. Thank you, you little 12-year-old. That is exactly what's going on right now. So, yeah, powerful stuff.
Yep.
Oh, we're a couple minutes away from pulling in the guest here. So how are we going to wrap that up?
Well, I think it just ties right in, so we might as well just bring on Korey right now.
Let's do it up.
And so our guest today, as I said earlier, is Korey Bahme with Bahme Law. She is a business attorney, so we're going to bring her on and just go right on in with our conversation.
Well, welcome, Korey. Awesome. Whoop, whoop. All right. Got a great crowd here today.
Yeah, we do.
So, Korey, like, what was the decision to go into law?
It's always a funny story because most people have a reason or a story behind how they ended up where they ended up. I think the universe just sort of put me where I needed to be. When I was 10 years old, I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. I didn't have a reason for it. I didn't know why. I don't know if I watched a movie. I just said it. My dad and grandparents kind of looked at me. They didn't say I couldn't do it. They just laughed and said, you're going to change your mind. Like, you're 10. You're going to change your mind. And then people at school were like, you're smart, but you're not that smart. I was like, okay. And then I went to undergrad, and my last year I realized I don't know a lawyer. And I only hear bad things about lawyers. I don't even know if I'm going to like it. So I had a professor at the time, and she was in charge of the Arizona Innocence Project at NAU. And she said, come join this and see what it's like. And I did, and I loved it. And I realized you can help people with the law. Yeah. People don't know what they don't know. And if you find someone that's a good human being and treats people like humans, the law can work for their benefit. And it can help all around. And so that's just sort of what took me forward and applied to law school. And now here I am 5 years later as a lawyer.
5 years?
5 years, yeah, as a lawyer.
All right, so you mentioned a couple of years as a defense attorney or something. That would have been in the beginning.
Yep.
So that was just 3 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. And then what caused you to move over into the corporate world?
It was a lot that kind of contributed. COVID had just happened.
That's right.
A lot of things kind of halted. And I was working for the county at the time, and the prosecutor's office wasn't charging during COVID except for violent crimes, Well, once COVID sort of ended, they started just backfiling and picking up all these people. And majority of my clients ended up being mentally ill, and their offenses were a little bit of methamphetamine.
Oh.
And their plea deal was probation, but they couldn't sign the plea deal because they're ruled incompetent, or they haven't been ruled whether they're competent enough to sign. And the state wouldn't release them because they won't show up to court. And so it was this huge cycle, and it was so many people. Like, I think out of my 30 clients, probably 15 of them were mentally ill and in there because of a drug offense, and their plea was probation or some jail time. And it just, kind of got to me, and I was just like, you know what? I've always wanted to end up in corporate, so I'm young, I'm new, let me see if I can transition now, and if I don't like it, I can always come back. So that's what happened.
All right. So now you're a defense attorney and you go to become a corporate attorney. Did you have to go through more training, licensing, or whatever? Or
no, that's kind of the maybe scary thing with law. Is in law school you learn all the areas of law.
Okay.
And so once you graduate and you pass, and the bar exam's also all areas of law.
Okay.
And so you have a generic idea of every area and kind of what to do and how to go forward. And then from there, it's all mentorship and research and kind of learning as you go.
Okay. Well, yeah, because everything you learn, and Melinda is a CPA, and I watched her take the test for that, which was outrageous. There's 4 tests, and she had to take them twice. Like, she would miss by 1 point. Like, it's 70%. She'd get a 69. Oh, and of course, send me, because they would wait a month. They'd be like, you can get your results next month at 11 o'clock. And she would send me in to look at them.
Oh.
Because she didn't want to see it. And this was like, talk about doing the work. Like, you go in there and you open it and it's like 68. Because I have to go tell her now that you didn't do it. And you've studied at 4 a.m. every day for 3 months. You're up at 4 a.m. all weekends and everything, and you've missed it. One time it was 69 by 1 point. And I'd have to walk in and how do you hide it? What do you do with it? And she'd look at me and I didn't do it, did I? And especially the 4th one. That's where she's like, that's it. I'm not doing this. I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm thinking, yeah, you'll change your mind tomorrow. You've come this far, right? And she had a teacher that was an attorney and a CPA and said, yeah, those both of them, the bar, the testing they go through is absolutely intense, and most of it you will not remember. So that's why you have the books and So when you have to deal with stuff like her, she may have to go to a source, even though she learned it there. But they even told her, you're going to dump most of this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you don't practice something every day, or you're not in the world and you're not living it and doing it, just like you just lose it.
Well, yeah, you're not going to retain all that.
So what you're saying is if you don't use it, you
lose it.
Oh, yeah.
So
that should be your new motto. You're welcome.
In the bar, is that a multiple test or is that just one?
Oh, it's 2 full days of testing. And I took it in February and we didn't get our results until May.
Right.
You also have a character and fitness portion, which is you submitting basically a very extensive background check on yourself. And you have to report everything. If you have a police report, you have to get full police reports, character letters, reference. Like, you have to go and get everything.
Right.
Every transcript you've ever had and submit it. That part was easy. The professional responsibility, I think, was like, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. And that's the ethics portion, because you have to be ethical. You have to know the ethical rules. And so that's a different day. And you usually take that before the bar exam. And then the bar exam is, like I said, 2 days. The first day is all essays. So you have questions, and it's on one topic, and they're catching on whether or not you can issue spot. So you read something. What are the issues? What are the problems? How do you solve that problem? What law is applicable to it? And then the second day is all multiple choice.
So 2 full days. Yeah, and CPAs had 4 tests. They weren't 2 days, though. They were maybe like 4 hours that you would go in 4 different times. But yeah, that's what she told me both those tests are extremely difficult. Now, are there people in that have to do this multiple times before they pass?
Oh, yeah. The bar passage rate is pretty low. I think it's higher now than it used to be. And I know that because you can only take it 2 times in a year.
Okay.
The February bar usually has the lower passer rate. And then the summer one usually has a higher one because the summer one is usually right after people have graduated law school.
Right.
So it's fresh in their, it should be fresh in their mind. They're supposed to understand it all. And the February is for anyone that didn't pass it previously, or for people that are from other states coming here and wanting to get licensed in Arizona. So there's a lot of things that contribute to it. I personally took the bar exam while I was still in law school. ASU allows that. It was me and about 10 other individuals at ASU at the time, and we all did that. And I think we were the first one to all pass as well.
Oh, good.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, did you pass the first time?
Yeah, no, I did pass the first time. So you studied for, I think I started studying in December. So for about a month and a half, it was nothing but studying every day. And ASU won't allow you to take classes during that time. It's just you're studying, then you take the bar, and then after the bar, you have a class and an externship before you graduate. And I actually graduated, and then 2 days later, the results came out. And unlike your story, I was sitting there, and I actually went to work that day, and no one else went to work. And I'm like, nah, if I didn't pass, like, I'll take it in the summer. Like, that's when I was supposed to take it anyways. And I'm sitting there and refreshing, and it's not coming up. And all of a sudden, someone comes by, and they're like, congratulations. I'm like, are you kidding me? So that's kind of how I found out, was someone else came by and told me. But for me, it's a lot of information, but if you study and you do the work, you're going to pass. It's just like life and everything else. How bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How much time can you put towards it? What are your priorities? Because that's a thing too. A lot of people don't pass because maybe they have a family, so their family comes first. Maybe they have another job that they have to go to. So it's all about kind of rearranging what you are doing in your life to get to where you want to go. Yeah,
like her getting up at 4 to study for 3 hours before going to work. This went on for 2 years. And weekends where she'd be like, okay, Saturday, Sunday, I got to carve out 4 hours on each day. And that was and still have to take the test twice, and that wasn't unusual at all. And there were people that she knew that were doing it 6 times, and usually that would be the case. They just super busy, jobs, family, things like that. They weren't able to just carve out, or didn't choose to carve out the real amount of time that it would take to retain all that information and then do it. Even though I think it's fascinating, the part where you're just going to dump it all. Like the teacher's telling them, oh, you won't remember all this. Like you'll know it, you'll pass the test, you're good. And then that's why they would say like a lawyer has a whole wall of books, because they're going to jump back to there because they're not retaining all this forever. And
well, it's like it's no different than aviation. I mean, you go and grab the FAR AIM book. I mean, holy smokes, that's literally just a book of law, and written in blood, right? It's literally, but it's like you don't remember absolutely every single law. You're like, all right, hold on a second, and sometimes they revise it, right? So you go, oh, okay, ooh, they changed this or they changed that, or you need to be up to par on that. Yeah, the training for it. And the acquiring the knowledge, it just comes down. You nailed it on the head. Like, how bad do you want it? Right? It's just the level of intention that you place on it, and then you move forward. You move forward with it, and I'll never forget. So my wife and I both decided to become pilots at the same time. And I was like, oh, no, I'm all about this. And then she was all about it until she got into it. And then she was like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to be this much work. And she almost was like, I don't know. And then she got to a point where she's like, well, I've already come this far. I might as well finish it, right? But she's to the place now where she's like, all right, well, I just want to be the passenger princess. I'm like, I'll know how to fly the plane, but you need to stay up to speed on all the ins and outs and this and that. So same thing to what you were to what you were doing as law school, right? And But, how many people are out there that, man, they're like, yeah, I want it. They don't want it. They don't want it bad enough.
Well, yeah, that's going to be because you're doing the game, 60-day game. And, for some people, goals they just don't understand. Like, you already understand. Okay, like, to become an attorney, I'm going to need to study. I'm going to need to do this. It's going to have to become a priority. I'm going to have to give up whatever for this period of time and da-da-da-da. And so that's the thing about that game. The goal part was never that big to me. It was like, anytime I wanted something bad enough, I'm going to get it. I know what I got to do to get that. Some people do not, so that helps them. So then if you already have that part down, then what is the game going to do? What's going to happen then?
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of people, going back to the whole mundane and being stagnant, is you're used to your routine. And now you have a goal. You said, I have a goal. I set a goal for whatever reason it was. And now you have to rearrange what you've been doing in order to obtain it. And some people don't realize the work, or they're not in the position to yet. I think, too, a lot of people let fear of quote unquote failure stop them. I don't believe there's failure. If you set a goal and you didn't reach it, it doesn't necessarily mean you failed. No. Maybe it's just not your time. Maybe it's not what you're supposed to be doing. And a lot of times, I think that's why the saying goes is everything turns out the way that it should. Whenever you look back, you're like, wow, thank goodness I didn't reach that goal. Thank goodness I didn't end up with that person. Thank goodness I shifted and pivoted or did whatever was necessary.
Yeah. There's a whole spectrum of what will go on with that. A lot of people find out because they set those goals. It's exciting. It's the first day. Yeah. Then as they get going, that part starts showing it. Wait a minute. This is taking a lot of my time. Well, yeah. Yes. It's taking a lot of your time. You said you wanted that, and you were pretty aggressive about it, and it's a pretty good-sized goal, and it's risky, and it's got everything about it. What did you think was going to happen? It's just going to show up. So that's why it's good to have the coaches at that point and the players and everyone else, because a lot of people will try to bail on it. Like, you know what? I want to change the goal. I love those. I want to change the goal. There's no changing of it. The only one person one time in the middle was able to change the goal, because the goal in the beginning was to manage his opiates. All right. Manage. It's like an alcoholic managing his booze. So that's what his goal was. I'm going to become the first opiate addict to manage my opiates. So, we're like, all right, that's the goal, right? And so I hook him up with a coach with 25 years in sobriety in the 12-step program, like on purpose. Like, we'll just push you over to this guy. And then halfway through, at the midway mirror point, he stands up and he says, I want to change my goal. And it's like, you already know. We talked about this meeting. My goal is to completely stop opiates and never use them again. Like, okay, once in a while you got to change the rule. And right now is the first time I've ever seen where that makes sense to change the rule and get off of the managing of your opiates, which weren't, because then he admitted, he's like, I'm lying to my coach. Because I tell him I only took 1 today, and I'm still taking 6. I'm still doing 8. I'm still doing all that. So
I'm managing just fine with my opiates.
Well, I think in that situation, too, he evolved his goal. It wasn't a change.
Yeah,
it was just,
good point.
Again, going back to evolution, it was on the same spectrum, and the outcome is essentially going to be the same. Probably better to just stop instead of manage. But. Yeah,
and that was the point. It was admirable to want to manage them, and then in that, the first this was 90 back then, so the first 6 weeks, what he learned was there's no managing it. It's an addiction.
Yep.
And you don't win. You don't manage that. And it took him to that point to realize, okay, there is no managing this. I'm going to have to completely stop. And then he had the right coach because the coach didn't push him or tell him you need to stop. He didn't preach, 12 steps at him or anything. He let him run his little course and lied to him. And the coach looked at him and was like, I knew you were lying. I knew when you showed up at the team meeting, you were were dazed out. Like, there's no way you took one opiate this morning. You're whacked right now. So
Korey, you've had quite a bit of expansion over the last couple of months. You know, being able to watch you grow in many different avenues has been incredibly exciting to watch you, just everything that you're creating. So, you know, maybe let the listeners know, like, you know, really what's happened for you over the last several months, and where do you see yourself going with it by the end of the year or into the next, couple of years?
Yeah. So, well, funny story, going back to ENO, I was asked to join and to go and observe one of your guys' mastermind groups in January. And I was working for a firm, and I loved it. I loved ENO. In that one instance, I had a couple clients that I walked away with. I loved the idea of it. I loved the flow of it. And I went back and I wanted to do more of it. And I was kind of told no. And then it just hit me, and I'm like, I can do business law on my own. I don't need a firm. And so I did. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after that, I was fully up and running. Hired my operations manager, who's really helped me take things off. And I had, I think, 2 or 3 clients come over with me, 3 clients that switched over with me. And one was a litigation case. One, he had owned some franchises, and then someone else was just doing her contracts. And since that time, almost, I think within the first month, we were making a profit.
All right.
And the only networking I did was ENO. Okay. And the social media that my operations manager was doing on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that. Everything else was word of mouth. I also had someone who called my old firm. That's where I had met them. I did a consultation with them, and they needed services again. And they Googled my name, found out I started my own firm. And so it's, again, been word of mouth, my reputation, people coming back and seeing me and all of that. And starting next week on Monday, we've hired a new attorney.
All right.
So Abelardo Rodriguez will be starting with us, and he'll be doing the business law as well. So that's where we're at right now, 3 employees, 2 attorneys, and everything. It's just been expanding. In 1 week, I had 7 new clients.
Wow.
At any given time, I have about 20. So it's been a good influx and rotation. So it's been excellent. I definitely think I want to continue to expand it and grow it. The great thing, at least what I love about the firm, is the people that I hire. My operations manager is a friend. It's not someone that I just put out an ad and it came. It just happened that the day I decided to start my firm, he had graduated with his business degree and was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And I said, do you want to help me start? And he said, yes. And that's how that happened. Abelardo Rodriguez, he started with me at the public defender's office. When I left, I took him with me, and then I left him again. And it's been a couple of years. We're really good friends. And when I started my own firm, I kind of told him and said, this is what I'm doing. Ideally, it'd be great if you could join me. But if not, like, that's okay. And if you want to see if I successful or fail first, that's fine also. And by Easter, he was saying he was ready. And I at first was like, I don't know about timing and money. That's kind of scary. And then it hit me. There's no such thing as timing. Just do it. This is the timing. Him reaching out was probably the timing. Nothing has to be set perfectly in order for things to happen, to be successful and all of that. And I trust him, and he's a great guy and excellent attorney, and he has a similar heart to me, where we treat people with humanity. And like you said, with evolving and things like that, when I have whether it was as a public defender or as a business client, I ask them, what's your goal? Where do you want to take this? Especially my business clients. I'm like, that's cool where you're starting, and I can help you draft this contract, but I'd rather draft it for where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
So it's going to seem like a lot in the beginning, but you're not going to have to come back to me. You can just expand and move on your business, and your legal documents are going to flow with you, and that's how it should be. I don't need you to come back and pay me money every single time. I want a client for life, and I will help you get your contract. And in the future, if you need something else, come ask me.
Right.
So that's sort of the expansion and all of that.
That is amazing.
So, Korey, tell us a little bit about, some of the kinds of things in business law that you do, and then I know you also do a lot in the franchise side of business, and they're similar but probably different as well.
Yeah, I do all things business. So a lot of attorneys, when they say they do business or they do civil law, they're still specialized within it. I'm not. I can help you start your LLC or your company, whichever it is, do all of the documents necessary, the operating agreements, partnership agreements, strategic alliance agreements, equity agreements, all of that. I can also help buy a business, sell a business, commercial leases. If a dispute arises, demand letters. I also litigate, so I can show up in court. I'm not scared of that at all. So almost anything. And in the franchise world, I am also general counsel for my uncle's company, MBE Hospitality Management in Montana, and they manage Hilton hotels, Choice hotels, all of those Best Westerns. So I have experience with the hotel franchises.
And in the big world of hotel franchise, not the rinky-dink little things, right?
Yes. And it's negotiating their franchises and making sure you're compliant. They have their franchise agreements are long. They are over 100 pages long. And then when you do a lease agreement, when you change things, when you modify things, you have to get consent. And so a lot of it's compliance as well. And then I also have a client currently who is opening 2 restaurant franchises, or he has 3 units. It's kind of like a dual franchise. And so his his franchise agreement was 700 pages.
Wow.
So it's reviewing those and helping them to remain compliant and get the SBA loans and all of that to help them get moving within the franchise.
So you help them get the loans and all that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll connect them with, I don't help fully with the SBA process. I help them connect them with the lender.
Okay.
And then I can help them get the documents the lender needs. Whenever, especially like with the lease agreement, now you have a lease agreement, a franchise agreement, and a lender all telling you of things that you need to do in order to remain compliant, or you're going to be in default. And so any change in the company or modification or insurance requirements are also different.
Yeah.
So my franchise guy, he gave his insurance broker a list of the insurance requirements that he needed for the lease. And I was like, well, you also have the SBA one, and you also have the franchise one. Like, you can't forget about all of them. So the compliance work behind it is a lot as well.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Oh, man.
What's the difference between franchising and licensing?
Licensing, you don't have as much say. So you can't really dictate how everything is all of the time. Whereas a franchise, you can lay out all of the rules, all of the policies, all of the changes, and kind of make it more stringent.
Okay.
You also essentially get more money.
As the franchise. Mm-hmm. Yet there's a lot more
work.
Upfront work to get there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a person that advertised in my dog magazine, and he's the largest pet trainer in the world. And he did licensing for a while. There was and then he told me at some point he was ready, and he was ready to franchise, and he went that route at that moment. So he started doing lots of franchise expos and all that other stuff. So he had made the transition, and I don't remember quite, but he had told me the reason why he did licensing first and the franchise. And it sounded, I mean, if I remember, it was more like there was just a lot more to the franchising, and sort of, I think he used the licensing to get him to the place where he could now afford it and do everything that was needed and the work or whatever he needed to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Most things in business are stepping stones. Yeah. You can always take one step and then before you go to the next level, but it also depends, again, what's your end goal? Because if you would have just went straight to the franchise, you probably would have saved money and time and actually made more in the end. So again, it always depends on where do you see yourself, because you can always get loans and things like that to help you get there. There's other avenues and ways about rearranging money to help you.
So if he had licensed to people and then he turns into franchising, he could still have both going on. Like the licensed people could still be licensed and he was licensing like territories. Like the Sit Mean Sit in Phoenix, my friend Tony owns that one. That was under the licensing one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the great thing about business law is you can contract around anything. So if you want to make a carve out, you can make a carve out. If you want to make some things exclusive, some things can be exclusive, whereas others aren't.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, that's why you need experienced, knowledgeable lawyers on your side. Especially when you're looking to, expand, and grow your business and take it to the next level,
the next evolution.
And I do offer in-house counsel services as well for businesses. So it's an ongoing, they pay a fee, and once they use up the hours, they can determine how much more hours to purchase. It's similar to an old style retainer.
Yeah, retainer.
It's just like a discounted hourly fee.
Excellent.
So last question I've got for you, Korey. Like, what's the one thing that just gets you super excited? You're just jazzed. You're like, yep, I'm super stoked to start today. What is it about law that just ruffles the leaves in the tree?
Honestly, helping people. Even like a simple contract, hearing my clients how excited they are about the end product and the fact that they're now protected and they know how to use it, and they have kind of essentially taken their business to that next level. Hearing their happiness with that gets me excited. I do mostly primarily focus on business owners. I do currently have a couple clients that are suing businesses, but helping them through that process where they've been kind of taken advantage of by a company, hearing them talk and just hearing them say thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for taking my case. Thank you for helping me. And even the ones I offer free consultations, sometimes I tell them the lawsuit's not worth it. Or I'm really sorry that happened to you, but you don't have a case. And at the end of the day, even if it's a hard thing to hear, they're grateful. And so that's what gets me going, is being kind of that soundboard for others.
That is good. That is powerful. I can see the relief. Because then the unknown is, you take that away. It's like, no, now you know.
Yep.
Even if you know you don't have a case, at least you can let it go now. I can move on in my life.
Right. And even when they do have a case, I usually tell them in the first meeting, the other party is going to come at your emotions, especially if it's a dispute. I'm like, I'm here to help you manage those emotions and also to manage the stress. I'm like, you've now told me everything I need. There's nothing more you can do. Stop stressing. Live your life. Do what you need to do. I'll contact you when it's necessary. I'll take it over. And I usually tell my business law clients that as well when they're not in disputes, but it's just contract work. I have everything I need. Now, just don't worry about it. Go on your business, and I'll reach out and I'll give you your end product, and we can talk more then.
Peace of mind.
Well,
Yeah.
I've got to say, as long as I've been networking, which is more than 30 years now, Korey, you are unlike any other attorney that I have ever met. Most are, and lots of great people out there, right? But very, very stoic, right? And you are just a sunshine and bright, fresh to the business world and to law. So we're glad that you're here with us.
Oh, yeah.
So tell the guests how to reach you, your website, your phone number, etc.
Yeah, so it's Bahme Law. Bahme is how you pronounce it, similar to same lame name, but Bahme. It's spelled B as in boy, AHME. So the website is www.bahmelaw.com, and our office phone number is 602-806-7182.
Awesome.
Excellent.
I think that's a wrap.
I think we did it.
Great conversation today, everyone. It was good.
Awesome.
Are we out?
We're out.
Thank you for joining us.